Welcome to the weekly SuperCoach NBL episode for the SuperCoach Hub. I am Barnesy here for another week of NBL. Head of round 8 now. We've got the Fantasy Pheonix on board as our special guest. Chad, welcome to the SuperCoach Hub NBL podcast for the week, mate. Good, nice to have you on board.
Thanks very much, Barnesy. It's a pleasure to be part of the pod. Hopefully, you're doing well.
I am. I've actually just moved, so it's a little bit of a different setting. I've still got my jerseys that I'm unpacking and stuff, as you can see back there. So went for the Bird jersey today instead of one of the Phoenix ones. But busy times, but it is busy times in NBL as well.
Definitely so.
Yeah, it's coming out of a single game week, so it was sort of, I don't know, I think it was hard to gauge where the points were going to be good and bad. Like I finished just shy of 200. And it felt real low and didn't end up being too bad. I dropped about 100 spots. I'm about 370 odd now. But it was a bit of a deflating round when you've only got one game each. Like, there's not a lot of basketball, number one. And number two, The scores look real low, so it just looks shit. But it's also a bit of a relief because it doesn't really matter too much as far as chasing those double game weeks, which is what I've said it all year. I think it's the biggest differentiating factor between all the SuperCoach codes. With NBL, it's chasing points every week, basically, with your double game weeks. With everything else, if you chase points, you end up in trouble. So it was a bit of a relief for this week. But how did you end up going for round 7?
Yeah, pretty similar to you, mate. So I finished, I think, 197, so just shy of that 200 as well. And I dropped from I think I was about 170th to about 250th. So about an 80 place drop. So pretty similar to you there. The foul trouble, as I'm sure a lot of people had with Big Sauce, caused me some issues with the captaincy. But aside from that, not too disappointed. I did hold Clinton for that 0 on the bench, so could have been worse.
Yeah, and that was a real deciding factor for a lot of coaches in round 7, I think. I ended up trading Clinton, and I didn't want to, but I'm someone who's got Henschel still on the bench, and it's just one of those problems that's hard to solve. And I could have gone sideways to Armstrong, but I still had other issues as well. So essentially I had 3 outs and I had to decide which ones I was going to get rid of. So Clinton bit the dust because it meant that I could get the trades done that I wanted to get done. But I feel bad about it this week. So whereas you're probably the opposite, you probably feel great about it this week because you've got Clinton now with all the double barrel game weeks rolled up and ready to go now.
Yeah, hopefully, as long as he gets no more rests or little niggles along the way. I saw he was projected pick 20 overall, so hopefully that doesn't influence his playing time and a bit of a sit too much, but hopefully he can keep pumping out some good scores.
Yeah, I was really surprised by that, actually. I was surprised by... I follow the NBA religiously as well, so I'm really surprised. Like the latest rankings, and it's a bit of a sidetrack, but it is news, so we'll talk about news first, and it is news on where these guys are getting projected at the moment. The current rankings have Clinton at 20, which, I like his talent. But I see someone like Huck Porty at like, I don't know, he's 60 or something, or 50, and it was like, is there that much difference? And also the biggest thing was I'm a big Saar fan. Like I've supported him in SuperCoach. I've been a fan of his and a fan of holding him and stuff. And he's got all the physical tools. He's obviously got a lot of high ceiling room to develop in and could get a lot better. But he's projected number 1 now. Which it's got to be a weak
crazy
draft.
It's pretty solid. Like obviously his former teammate when they played over in the Ignite game. Yeah, I don't know if he's that much better and if he's developing that much more down here. But it's obviously good for the NBL to have him up there.
Oh, it's fantastic, and look, it's all great for the NBL. They've got like 5 guys in the top 75, I think it is, or something like that, and that's really good, and it's great for the Next Stars program, which only came in a few years ago, so that's going gangbusters as well. The other big news was the Hawks, mate. They have sacked their coach this morning, so that was probably a long time coming. And we've got Tatum Sr., who's taking the reins for the moment. So one of my good mates is a Hawks fan, and he lives down that way, and he has said the whole time they're not a great team, but they're a better team than what their wins and performances have suggested. And I tend to agree. Like, it had to happen. And even just how they play. Like, you can lose games but have a bit of hope. And I think that there's been a few games there where you, as a Hawks fan, you just go, geez, I don't even know where they're going with this.
Yeah, that's definitely fair. As a long time Illawarra boy, have felt a lot of pain over the years, but yeah, this one definitely a little bit different. I think the game plan thing was spot on. You've got guys don't really mix too well playing at the same time. And then speaking of the draft board, obviously Johnson was at, I think, about 43 or something like that. And he's getting no minutes at all, which I don't know if that was the best call. When you're not doing too well, at least let the kid play. But yeah, I feel bad for Jacobus. I mean, he might be the world's best assistant coach like he was under Gorgon for a long time, but maybe the head coach thing was a little bit of a bigger step too early for him. But hopefully Tatum Sr. can coach maybe half as good as his son can play basketball, and we'll be in a good spot.
I'll just get Tatum to come down for a little while. Just get Jason for 2 weeks or something, get him in the playoffs.
Be all right.
I think it'd go pretty well. Let's move along. We've got a trade market for round 8. So, interesting trade market. We've got 4 teams on the double, and that's going to play heavily on this. And for those that haven't had a look at it yet, the 4 teams on the double, we've got New Zealand, we've got Cairns, we've got Perth, which is going to be a big one. And we've also got, who was the other one?
Tassie's the other.
Tassie, of course.
Yep.
That's one of my trade targets. I should remember that. So the 4 teams on the double. So this week it's going to come into a lot of play as far as the trade market goes. Trading out, first of all, Aldrich, number 1 most traded out player.
Yep.
He just lost 4,000. I feel a bit bad last week because I sort of tried to support him and say he wasn't going to lose much money anyway. The point scoring was bad, but he does have some potential. And he scored a 1 again, and I was just like, that's terrible. And so I've traded him this week. That's one of my trades. I've gotten rid of Aldrich at the moment. But having said that, and I always like to talk about both sides of the argument. There is a little bit of silver lining here. The Hawks have a new coach, and
yes,
Aldrich coming in pre-season, he looked like he was going to be a really valuable reserve for Illawarra, and he had some really flashy performances in short bursts. And I thought he was going to make more impact than what he has. And I think a lot of people, probably, especially including you, thought that as well. And he just hasn't. So a new coach could do that, though. He does only have a break-even of 23. Now, on a single game week, it's a bit of a killer. Like, if he scores another 1 or 2 points with that sort of break-even, he's going to lose too much cash. So you need to probably get rid of him. But, there is a chance, mate, that he could come good in a couple of weeks' time under new coaching, potentially.
Yeah, I hope so. I think that he might be one that you definitely have to trade now. Then the Hawks' schedule turns a little bit later in the season. Hopefully he can do well under the new coach, get a bit more opportunity and confidence, and then he'd be a perfect trade-in target then. Because you're right, early season, there was that blitz game, and even I think he's had one half-decent game, might have been the game against the Phoenix this year, where you can see the potential that he's got, but he just wasn't really given the opportunity to show it as much, or when he was, he didn't have the confidence to back it up. So I hope for him and for the Hawks that he can turn it around. But yeah, he's a trade and a look forward to the future, maybe.
Yeah, definitely. Look, the number 2 on the list, kind of surprising when you look at the name, Alan Williams, big source. He's second most traded out player by a fair margin too. A lot of people are having trades getting off Alan Williams. And look, the Phoenix are in a precarious situation where, a couple of weeks ago they had the double game week. I was really keen on them then. And then coming into the single game week, you get a bit of a reprieve because no one's on the double game week, so you can hold these Phoenix guys. And now we're in that stretch where, someone like Brown I had for 2 weeks, and now he was meant to be my trade out for this week because they're back on the singles. Alan Williams, though, it's an interesting one because you can certainly get rid of him. And one of my trades that I've considered is getting rid of him and going to a Pinder because he's got the 2-game week this week. But I will say, I don't think it's bad to hold him. He's got a break-even of 41, and Williams can get that in a week. A single game week, Williams can throw up a 41. So the money-wise, he's over 400,000, but it's not necessarily going to mean that he's going to drop money. I think the thing from the Phoenix perspective is you're going to have a couple of single game weeks before you get to the doubles, and that's going to be an issue. And it's kind of a theme with their schedule, isn't it? Because they seem to have a couple of singles and then a couple of doubles, and it just keeps going on like that for a little while, for a couple of months now. But Williams is someone who I was looking at my trades, Chad, and I sort of said to myself, look, we don't have enough trades for the whole season, and that's without using the boosts. And obviously everyone's going to use their boosts. So you're actually going to end up with no trades a month out or something for most teams. So there's some of these guys that you're just going to have to try and hold and ride. And for me, the strategy is it's those guys that you think can probably score a 30 to 40 in a single game week, and Williams is one of them. So at the centre spot as well, with the positional scarcity,
Yeah.
I would prefer to be holding him myself, but probably with what I have to chase, I'm going to chase. But I don't think he's an easy trade out at all. I think you could definitely hold someone like Williams, and he could be one of those guys that you kind of hold through as well.
Yeah, I've toyed with the same thing, whether going to someone like a Pinder or maybe moving Wardenberg to the centre spot and going to a Lamb or something like that. It's a bit of a downgrade option with a bit of a better schedule. But yeah, you're right with that centre position. If you look at Williams, if he scores, say, he averages 30 to 40 over the next 3 weeks before their double, and Wardenberg gets that on his double game weeks, well, you're not too much worse off, and you potentially saved a trade if you, depending on where you go. It's hard with that scarcity, as you mentioned. There's some options we can probably talk about a bit later that have a couple of doubles coming up, but aside from JLA, who's also got a bad schedule, there's no real standout centre guys to be looking at.
Yeah, I'd love JLA, and I absolutely love his game. And he's another guy very similar to Williams that can go the double point scoring with one game, and it doesn't really matter too much on his schedule. But it's hard because the other strategy that I've sort of looked at is you got 2 guard spots and 2 forward spots. So, and there's not very many centers available that are any good. So you can chase the guards and the forwards really easily because there's so many of them to chase. The centers, you can't chase double game weeks. There isn't, when you look at the top centers, there's going to be weeks where you just don't have a double game week. And what are you going to do? Well, on those weeks, you're probably going to start, like you said, a Wardenberg or somebody else that you got on the bench. Even if Saar starts playing well and he's got another double game week coming up, you might even start someone like him. It's one of those things where if you do that, you then don't have to waste a trade at centre, but you also can have someone good on your bench that's going to be 50% scoring. Now, Alan Williams throws up a 40-point game on your bench, you're still going to get 20 points benefit out of that. So I would really like to hold Alan Williams and just not waste trades there and hold them. And I think that's a good strategy. But you've got plenty of trades. There's plenty of options. And this week we do have Pinder on a double game week. So totally get it.
Yeah.
Alexander Saar, I don't get this one, Chad. So you need to come at me.
No.
Put your Fantasy Pheonix hat on and tell me what's going on here. He's the 3rd most traded out player.
The only thing I can think of is that people are trying to go a week early as maybe a small cash grab if they have some DPP shifts, perhaps, if they're bringing in like an Armstrong and they're moving Saar out for him, or they need to go Saar down in order to get maybe an Ulbrich up to get those 2 guys to maybe someone half decent. But I'm with you. I've had Saar since essentially the start of the year. He's still been on my bench. I think even with his break evens in the 40s this week, but he can still punch that out. He easy on a double game week. He can be a 30 to 45 point player. Perth are winning and they want to keep that up. He'll have confidence back at number 1 projection. I'd be holding him, but and even if you've got a decision to make of do you get rid of an Ulbrich, do you get rid of like a Williams, or do you keep someone like Saar? I'd be keeping Saar on the bench.
Yeah, and I like his versatility with the dual positioning, being able to swap him around. And that's something that I fell into trouble with on the weekend. I've gotten to a point where I don't have as many duels anymore. Much harder to do the trades that you want to do because you can't move guys around. And, there's no point trading in a 3rd or a 4th guard because, you've already got a couple of starters there that are superstars. So the dual stuff really does help. And 43 is a high break even for him when you look at his output. Like, he's averaging 17.5 points for the season. And if you look at last week, he's only gone 5 points in the single game week versus New Zealand. It wasn't the best, but the week before he went 41. The week before that he went 6. The week before they went 13. And in a double game week round 3, he went 45. He's every 2nd or 3rd week he's thrown up a 40-plus game. And the thing is, like, even if he throws up, 3 or 4 points underneath his break even this week, he's going to go into next week with a low break even. And he's got that double game week this week to be able to try and do that. And that can regenerate the money that you might lose this week anyway. And then all of a sudden his role might open up or, different things can happen in your team. So, I don't hate trading him out, but I much prefer to just keep Saar there. Luke Travers, I think that's just an easy one. I had to dump Travers last week. He was one of the guys we were talking off air. Like, I had the few guys out and I just didn't have many choices, and Travers was one. So he makes sense just to dump out now, doesn't he?
Yeah, for sure. I was in the same boat as you, which is unfortunate. I thought maybe he might be a sneaky bench hold with his DPP flexibility, but yeah, with the concussion stuff, especially Melbourne United too, with their history, they're very cautious, so have to move him on. If I think there's talks that he's more likely to be back this round, but their schedule still isn't great, and if he is back, he's probably not going to be full, you know, pedal to the floor straight away. So chance that he doesn't score too well and drop some cash. They do have a good double, I think, coming up in a precarious round. It might be 16 or 18 or something, where you can look to bring someone like him in. But yeah, I think that's an easy sell this week as well.
Yeah, I was just looking at their doubles actually, and like the Melbourne's next double comes in round 11, and then after that it's round 14. Like they've actually only got 4 double game weeks left. So
Yep.
it's not great for them. And the other thing too is that they keep winning anyway. Like I couldn't believe, like I was all over, all the betting agencies took my money for the Phoenix to win at like $1.70
Yep.
to $1.75 for ages, and I cannot believe that United won. But they're 9-1 or something now. So I mean, they keep winning. They're not going to need to rush guys back like Travers.
If they can beat a near full strength Phoenix team with the team they put out with on the weekend, they could beat anyone with any team they put out. Like that was crazy. You're missing 3 of your 4 or 5 best players, and you still managed to get the job done. Yeah, they're going to be pretty scary for other teams this year.
They certainly are. Mitch Creek, speaking about the Phoenix, the next most traded out player. He was my captain on the weekend. A little bit disappointing, but it wasn't a big captaincy round anyway.
Yeah.
Look, he's got to break even to 33. I'm actually going to hold Mitch Creek, 362,600 in value, 33 break even. Every chance that he hits about a 33 this week anyway. I think there's every chance that he hits more than that, though. I actually quite like him to bust out against Adelaide this week. And look, he's thrown up round 4 was a 46-point effort. I'm not sure if that was a single game week or not, though, and that was the last time he had Adelaide. I feel like it was a single. That was a double.
4. Yeah, that was double because I think they went double, single, double. So yeah, that would have been a double.
Okay, nothing to get excited about there then. So we won't look at the last matchup if we want to do glass half full on Mitchell Creek. But look, I like the matchup. They've got Adelaide, New Zealand, Sydney double game week, and because he is one of those guys that can keep hovering around that break even, I still think that you can probably hold him. He's had a disappointing season, but he's still averaging almost 29 points a game. He's still, I think, in the top 10 at the moment on averages. So that's disappointing for him. Like, if he's got any upside, he's going to be potentially a top 4 or 5 fantasy asset for a few weeks coming up if he's going to turn it around a little bit. So, I mean, to me, there's probably too much upside there. And I like that his production is really consistent. Like, he's not going to score a 15 or something. And like you do have guys like Goulding and stuff that can go out and throw up a bigger score and then throw up a 55 or something in an explosion, which Creek's not doing at the moment. But those guys can also throw up a 12 for you. And Creek just doesn't do that. So I just don't see any need to throw him out of my side at the moment. So I'm actually going to hold Creaky. But how do you feel about him this season?
I think it's similar to what you were saying before about Alan Williams, where potentially if you're going to save some trades, if you've got other ways that you can move to get guys you want on court and you can keep those guys on the bench for their singles. Like you said, if they're going to pump out 30 to 40, you're getting that 15, 20 points on your bench anyway versus a guy on the double that might get a 40 over their 2 games. So if you're saving the trade. But yeah, he has been disappointing. I think with the scoring conversion, he was number 2 ranked average coming into the year, and I thought it was probably going to go up for him rather than where they've been at. I know that they've obviously had a bit of roster movements with Cook and Sauce and all that sort of thing. Cummings has missed games, but yeah, I thought he was really going to be pushing to get the Phoenix that next step to really try and push for a championship, and his output has been consistent and still good. But yeah, probably unders what I was expecting him to be at this point in the year.
Yeah, it has been. And it's surprising because like on the weekend, I thought, he scored about 30, maybe 32, and he only had a 24. It just doesn't seem to be converting for him at the moment into the fantasy points from what he's doing. But look, next one up, McDaniel, I think we'll skip past him because that's a pretty easy one. Nathan Sobey, I think it's a pretty easy one too. Tyrell Harrison, he's going out, and he was one of the top trade-ins last week. He got injured, but look, I tell you what, I really didn't like him as a trade-in as it was. He still only has a break-even at 12, though. So, I mean, have we got confirmation that he's playing this week? He's not listed.
No, I think last I heard was he was more than likely out than in. But even if he does miss this week, they've got the double next week. So if you have him, you could potentially hold him to have him back on that double with that nice break even and the double game week.
Yeah, exactly. Look, I don't like him as an option. I didn't like him as an option last week, but if you decided that he was, I kind of think that it's maybe rushing to trade him out if you just got him in. I think that you probably invested in your decision last week and you've got to stick with it, because if he's playing this week at break even at 12, he's going to make that. He's not going to lose any money.
Yeah.
And then next week he's got the double game week and he's going to make you money. So if you got him in to make money and because you thought he could put up some points, well, he's going to make you money even still now. So I think it's a bit knee-jerk to get rid of him now if you decided to believe in him. If you didn't, like me, I think we got lucky on that one, so well done to us. Justin Robertson. One of your boys from Illawarra, mate. Look, I got on the Justin Robertson train, and I got to admit, I think it was only for 2 weeks, and then I was disgusted with myself, and I wiped off the dirt and got rid of him and felt real good about it the next morning. He's coming out of a fair few teams. He's not highly owned. He's 294,000. They've got the single game week this week versus New Zealand. I will say, like, he's going to break him to 40, so I would trade him out too. Like, if I owned him, I'd trade him out too. But similar to Aldrich, I am very interested from an NBL perspective, but also a SuperCoach perspective, how the new coach is going to look with Justin Robinson, because he looks like someone who probably could have a much better output than what he has had in recent weeks. And he's shown flashes before and had some really good rounds. I'm interested with the new coach, what Justin Robinson actually looks like now.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I'm one of the unfortunate people. He's been on my bench for about 5 weeks. Every time I've gone. So I think, there was last week, which was Travers and someone else that had to go. The week before, Travers and Huck Porty, they had to go. Yeah, the week before was Miller and someone else. I haven't had the chance to move him. I will be this week. But yes, I agree with you there. I was surprised when they decided to split. I thought he might have come off the bench rather than Harvey, and he would basically just be the leader of the bench unit and have a higher output. But I think Tatum might have more faith in him and might put a lot more responsibility on his shoulders than what Jacomas did. So yeah, I think you're right there. If you've got him like me, let's get rid of him. But if you don't, it's a watch this space.
Yeah, the big killer is any Illawarra player. You got around 8, 9, 10, 11, 4 weeks before there's another double round coming up for them. And then after that, 13, 14, no doubles there, and then 15. So 2 doubles in 2 months' time. It's not enough to have any Illawarra players at the moment, plus how they're playing. So totally getting rid of him, but I could definitely see him throwing up some big SuperCoach points. Last couple of weeks, 19 and 17, very disappointing. Round 5 with the double game round, he went 62 though and showed his potential there. So we could see some more 30 plus points per game coming for him. Let's have a look at the next one. It rounds out our list, and it is Bob Klintman. Klintman was the thorn in my side last week. Had to get rid of him because I was in a real tight corner. Had to get out of it. I feel terrible having to trade him out last week, but it was something that I think some coaches in specific team situations just had to do. Yeah. This week, though, totally different story. I wish I had him. If I had him this week, there's no way I'd be trading him out. So I don't know. Maybe, Chad, that there's people who are sort of playing around with, or maybe he won't play this week or something, and they're just seeing what it looks like trading him out, and maybe that's why he's made an appearance in the top 10 traded out. I can't really see any other reason why teams would.
No, I don't think so. And yeah, he seems to be one that was just a precautionary hold, and probably the fact that they were playing Illawarra last week that he didn't necessarily need to suit up. I'm sure if that was a playoff game or they were playing a Melbourne or a Sydney or something, that he probably would have played based off the report. So yeah, I think it's like you said, maybe guys having a bit of a look at how the team structures with moving him on. But yeah, I held him last week through the donut, and if I had him, well, I do have him, but if I was looking to trades, he's nowhere near the top of my list of trade out options.
No, in fact, I might even have to look at buying him back, depending on how the rotation shakes out in Cairns. They are going to have their full squad again, supposedly, with Patrick Miller back, and see how that looks. But it's another 6 weeks in a row where they've got a double game week going in Cairns.
Yep.
So it's just all aboard the Cairns train for SuperCoach, and you have to do it. So I wouldn't be surprised in 2 weeks' time if I'm looking at someone who's got a lower break even, a bit cheaper. I'll probably buy Clinton back, and that's the big reason why there's no way I'd sell him this week. That schedule is just too good. The trade-ins, Keanu Pinder hit a 3-pointer on the weekend as well.
Yeah, he's showing his range.
He had a couple. I think he had 2 or 3 attempts. So I mean, he actually got one. So yeah, it's if that opens up a bit more for him, look out. But look, this is one that I looked at because like I said, I didn't want to trade Alan Williams, but one of my trades was I only actually need an extra 12 grand for my second trade, so I was really dirty about it. But I freed up 50 grand by going Alan Williams to Pinder, and Pinder's going to outscore Alan Williams this week with a double game week, you'd think. So, that was one of my moves. I do think that, and the SuperCoach pleb a few weeks ago before he went off to Europe, we had this little gentleman's bet on here where I backed Alan Williams to outscore Pinder per game, and I got him that week for sure.
Yeah.
But didn't mean I didn't like Pinder though, everyone. I do like Pinder, and I think now's the Pinder time because he's got the double game week this week, Chad. He's at 353,000, which is basically going to be like $50,000 less than the other top tier options in Alan Williams and JLA. And break even to 60, so yeah, he could get cheaper, but now's the time to strike with his 2 games this week. So last week he scored a 31. If you convert that to the same sort of scoring this week, it's going to be a 62. And 62, that's going to be a pretty good round for him. It's going to be a pretty good round for your centre spot. Other last thing that I really like about getting Pinder in, he's got the versatility with the dual forward centre. So you don't even have to trade a Williams to him. You could trade someone else, and you can swap guys around with him. So yeah, I think he definitely deserves to have one of the top spots in the trade-ins at the moment for SuperCoach this week. Double game week. It has to be said though, the next double game week after this week in round 8 doesn't come until round 12.
Yeah, so, there's a bit of a gap.
Is he a rental, or do you kind of just hold him and go, well, he's a bit Alan Williams like where you put up 30 odd anyway, so you just sort of hold him. So just that's okay. Just hit up what you think of Pinder.
Yeah, so I think Pinder's an interesting one. Like you were talking about with holding Williams and potentially Creek, he's a guy that with his DPP flexibility over the next 3 weeks, you can shift him over those bench spots depending on who you've got playing. If you're pairing him with someone like a Wardenberg and you shift those two between start and bench in either spot, depending on what works on for your team structure, he's coming more into form. I don't know if it's John Rillie himself coming into form and the Wildcats in general, but he's more of a focal point than he was in some of their earlier games. Doolittle performing well, and to be blunt, the Websters both not being on the court at the same time, just clogging the ball, is giving him more opportunity. So I'm toying, as we spoke about earlier, with the Williams move. I am toying with that Williams to Pinder as well. It's just, whether to hold him the week after or not. I can definitely see why he's one of the popular trade-in options, especially for those coaches that are ranked in the top 1%.
Yeah, he's just shy of 30 points a game now, and he has been going better of late as well. I wondered whether he was unfit or was carrying a little bit of a niggle at the start of the season or what, because he just didn't quite look as impactful as he normally does, wasn't as active either, but I think that's past him now, so I do like him as an option. Look, the second one, Matty Yang, I don't know what to make of it, really. He's second most traded in. He's got a 20 break even. He's obviously got Cheatham that's out at the moment, so he's got a bit of extra opportunity there that might only last a couple of weeks. He scored 28 on the weekend, 37 the round before, 27 the round before that. But you got to remember there's some double games in there too. 185,000. He does have the dual forward centre flexibility, so I mean there is that. But he seems okay to me. Do you want to try and sell me on it?
I don't know if I can. I think I'm in your boat there. He's obviously getting that Cheatham opportunity, but even when some of these games that Cheatham's been out, Modi Mayor hasn't really gone. He's gone with that small ball lineup of the Finn and Lamb at the 4 and 5. And when Mango's out there, he's getting boards, but I don't know. If he's a cheap option that you're just wanting to move as some doubles on the bench, maybe. But yeah, I don't know if I'd put him as high a priority as what some of the other coaches are at the moment.
No, I wouldn't. And if you just if you look at the Kings game, he's only played 18 minutes, and he scored 2 points on 1 of 3 shooting with 2 turnovers. He's not going to get you scoring, and his efficiency isn't particularly there either. And that does hurt you in some negative stats for SuperCoach as well. He had 2 blocks and a steal, and that's where it's always going to come in for him. Mango's going to come in and get his defensive stats, and he's going to get his boards. But 6 boards, a steal, and a block a game, maybe a bucket. Is that going to be enough? Close to 200K? I don't really think so. If he's 100K, great, swap Aldridge straight to him. But I'm not going to pay double Aldridge's price to go to Mango and then in 2 weeks' time have Cheatham come back. It doesn't really sell itself to me. So, but look, he's 5% owned already. He's probably going to be double that by the time we come into this round. Break even at 20. If it was a break even at 2 or something, I'd be more sold. But again, the break even's just a bit meh. So, Taron Armstrong. Armstrong's the 3rd most traded in, and he's gone up to 90,000 now. So I was big on him on the last week. I liked him. I didn't quite think he was a must-have because I could see some issues because, he's not still going to play big minutes and whatever. Miller was meant to come back. Miller didn't come back, and that helped him. He ended up getting 36 grand just that week, which, for SuperCoach, NBL is absolutely perfect numbers for a week trading. He now has a break-even of 3. So he's going to make some more money this week as well, and he continues to have those doubles. So we should see some money from him, I think, for a couple of weeks more. So I don't think it's too late to jump on him, but you might have lost maybe half of what you're going to make on him potentially.
Yeah, I'd say so. With how his break-even was structured, that game last week, he was a big initial price jump. I did bring him in last week. I think with Travers, it worked out well to do my shifts to get him in on the bench there. With the schedule they've got too, if you're going to have a near basement price person, if you compare him to, say, Albrecht, for example, you're better off with someone with a better output and 6 weeks of doubles versus the Hawks with their, 2 doubles in 8 weeks or whatever you worked out before. I don't think it's too late to jump on. I'd be recommending people move to him, which if I didn't, I would be this week for sure. You don't want to miss this price rise now because last week and this week will be the biggest 2, unless he goes gangbusters somewhere for some random round. But this is the time to jump on if you haven't already.
Yeah, agree. And it's probably your last chance too, because there is the downside that I thought was still there last week is little red flags are still there. On the weekend, the Phoenix game, they were reasonably competitive. They only lost by 13, and that's not a bad result considering they're out. He still only got 17 minutes. So, I mean, look, he was 4 or 5 from the field, 3 or 4 from the line, hit a 3, super efficient aside from his 4 turnovers. And yet it's still only 17 minutes. So he probably has to have a minutes drop there with Miller back. And maybe he's earned himself a role where it's 12 minutes a game or something off the bench. But he's got to be super efficient and super active in that 12 minutes to have a big impact on SuperCoach. And I think that's probably going to continue, but it's going to be enough to make him money for a couple of weeks. So if you want to get him in now, because it's probably your last opportunity, I think, to get enough value out of him. Let's move along, though. After Armstrong, we have Gak, another Cairns Taipan player. So Gak is 102,900. Another big man that can be a little bit one-dimensional, much like Mango, who we spoke about, but he is half the price, which is why I like him a lot more, and he's got a lot more double games. He's only got a break even of 7, and on the weekend he's coming off a 19-point round. Before that it was a 17-point round. If he continues to go in the teens to the early 20s, he's got a bit of money-making potential that he can have. Look, he's looked okay. I'm just not 100% sold on him. So how do you feel about Gak? He only got 10 minutes on the weekend. 7 points, 3 boards, 3 of 5, and a 3. That 10 minutes probably continues. He seems to be able to go into the teens. Is that good enough to bother getting him in?
I'm probably going to be avoiding it myself. I mean, if this is like a luxury move, you don't have any other real issues with your team that you're looking at, and you're like, I've got to move Lockie Albrecht on, then perfect. No worries there. You're getting 10, 12 more games over the next couple of months, and you're going to have some more cash development there. But his minutes is probably the most susceptible at Cairns. Him and I know Josh Roberts, their other import, hasn't been playing a lot of minutes either. But with everyone back and fit, I can definitely see potential lineups where there's Armstrong, Miller, and McCall on the floor at the same time. And if that's the case, you're only going to have. I mean, if you have Wardenberg and Menenga on, then that obviously there's no room for gap. But yeah, now that they have those flexibility options with the whole squad back, I can see a bit more small ball and more run and gun, which is how Ford probably wants to play a bit. So yeah, I like I said, I don't hate him if it's a luxury move on your bench for an old brick or something, but I won't be doing it myself.
Yep, pretty much the same boat for me. Anthony Lamb, 5th most traded in player. I got on last week. Sometimes the crowd gets a bit too excited, and they, the top guys that they go for don't end up working out that round. I was a big believer in Lamb though, so I was happy to follow the crowd, and he delivered. So he came through with a 37-point game. It was one of the best scores of the weekend. I wish I captained him, and he still comes into this round only 12% owned. So he's not someone that's hugely owned either. And even after trades this week, he's not going to be hugely owned. Double game week for New Zealand, though. And again, the matchups, Tassie's not a good one, but Illawarra is a really good one. So Illawarra, I would peg him for another 37-point outing. He's probably looking at a 60-point plus week and becomes a bit of a captaincy option as well. So I think at 314,000, he's cheap enough still, even though his break-even's 44, he can certainly be traded in this week. And it's not, I think a couple of weeks ago and even last week, you were doing it partially because you were going to make money out of it as well. At this point, it's just for points, and it doesn't matter if you make some money or not. That's just the icing on the cake. His point-scoring ability across the board is phenomenal, and he showed it again on the weekend, and I just think that he's going to keep getting better, to be honest. So I still like him as a trade in this week.
Oh, for sure. And I wanted to last week, but with how the injury and stuff worked out, Travers and who was it, Porty as well, I couldn't get him without boosting. And I thought, I won't do the boost and I'll make the move this week. So he's definitely my main trade-in target for my team and potentially other people as well for the week. I agree with you there. He's only going to get better with knowing the team more, building the chemistry there, and getting more familiar with the FIBA style of play. Like as they say in commentary, like this guy played legit minutes for the Warriors last year. Like he definitely can put the ball in the bucket and knows what he's doing. His other stats too, like he's crashing the glass a bit as well. He's been aggressive, and with him being probably the number one option, but the 1 and 2 option with PJC is very, very much still an option to jump on. And I agree with you. With their matchups this week against the Hawks, he might even hit his break even in that one game. Yeah, you can still make a little bit of cash from him as well as a bonus.
Oh, 100%. And look, it's a double game week the next week too, where they've got a tough game against the Phoenix, but then they've got a nice one against Adelaide. So you've got 2 weeks here of doubles with him where he can absolutely tear it up. And he's got a month in the NBL now. So this is why he's improving so much, in my opinion, because he's just hit his first month in the league. And here he comes. Lammy's going to be a big option this year in SuperCoach. Bryce Cotton, the return, or is it? Where are we at with Bryce Cotton? 60-point break even, so it's pretty high. He's almost 400,000. He's $400 below the 400K mark. He is becoming a bit of an enigma this year because, is he back, isn't he? It's hard to tell. Round 3, we sort of thought, 62-point round. He's back. Comes out with a 20 and a 31 the next 2 weeks. No, he's not. 73-point round 6 outing. And then last round he had 43 points in a single game week and was the best player in the league for a round for SuperCoach. I mean, it's hard. He absolutely blitzed it. I think he had 6 threes or something. His shooting was on point. But one of the biggest things with him is that he's relied so much on his shooting. Like, I saw some disappointment on the weekend in him still. And that's going to sound silly because he absolutely killed it. But he got like 2 assists. And he's just, all he is doing is going buckets. And even though he wasn't, a John Stockton playmaker or anything when he came across, he used to seem to get more assists. And lately, he's just relying completely on getting buckets. And he's having these nights where he's like 5 of 17 from the floor and it just kills you. So I'm not completely sold he's back, but he does have a double game week. And that's enough to buy him if you're looking at a gun for this week, I think, Chad, because chances are he's going to come in and he'll have a dud probably out of the two of them and score a 19 or 20, but he's probably going to back it up with a 35 in the other one. So you're probably going to end up with a good week still, and you can throw him out and get whoever you want the next week with change. So if you're looking at a rental for a gun this week, he's probably a good one, but he is in 32% of teams before trades this round, and that's a bit of a killer to me too, because I looked at it and went, I'm sure a lot of people have jumped off Bryce Cotton. No, he's actually still really highly owned in SuperCoach. So that probably takes away a little bit of the benefit of jumping on someone like him this week for me.
Well, I think touching on the ownership, even if you go back to old format as well, he's always been a highly owned guy with the more casual players that are. There's obviously a lot of Red Army fans that play the fantasy sports with the SuperCoach and whatnot. So obviously they're going to be picking their boy Bryce, but he might be one of those guys. So I brought him in before that with knowing they had this sandwich. So I went Miller to him ahead of round 6. So I thought, okay, which has obviously been a fantastic move so far. With the single week rental, I think there's a guy or potentially a couple guys a little bit down the list that might be better options for that rental. But yeah, I'm definitely keeping him and potentially putting the C on him, depending on if I bring in Lamb or not. But yeah, I don't know. You're right with his assists. His Bryce Cotton 3 assists was always a staple in my same game multis when Perth were playing. But I don't know if it's just now that they really want to make that focal point of him getting the easy looks, or the easier looks for Bryce anyway, that he's not having to play make so much where he's getting doubled or whatever. So it is frustrating. Usually if he picks up a steal or two, a handful of assists and a handful of rebounds, that's why he's always been such a good scorer in the past. But you're right, it seems reliant very much so on that scoring, which has been up and down so far this year.
They do have a good schedule for this weekend, though. They've got Cairns in Perth, which is a big travel for Cairns. Yep. And then they've got Brisbane. And whilst Brisbane's away, both those sides are below them on the ladder or around the same spot. And it's about as favourable double as what we've got for this weekend. So Cotton has it all lined up for a big round. I'd certainly say go for it if you've got the luxury trade just to get him in for a week. Makes sense, and he's a captaincy option, like you said. Look, there's been a number of Cairns guys in this top 10, and they're all kind of like scattergun approach. Which one of these few guys is going to work? And Cole as a forward guard, as the 7th most popular trade. Look, he's in 10% of teams already. He's got a break even at 30. He's 233,000. He's coming off a really good month though. From round 2 to round 7, he's only played 4 rounds, but those rounds have been 33, 47, 42, and 30. So on a round basis, he's absolutely killed it. And if he keeps doing that, he's going to be a worthwhile grab at 233,000. I'm just not sure. I think that he's probably the pick when you're looking at guys like him and guys like Gak and guys like Mango in those sort of price brackets. He's probably the pick out of them. But I'm still not sure if it's a great move at the money that he's going to cost you at 233,000. You're going to be $30,000 off maybe getting a legitimate gun in, and sort of looking at those sort of much more high scoring options. And with his break even of around 30, he's not really going to guarantee you a huge amount of cash coming in. So there's a lot of these tweener guys, Chad, in this top 10 most traded in, where it's just like, yeah, it's not bad, might work out, but it just doesn't seem as like it's a great one. And we might be at that point of the season where it's gotten real hard, and it happens in every SuperCoach season across all the sports, where you get to a point a couple months in where it's all right, all the easy decisions are out of the way. Now it's really tough, and you've got to do a bit of guesswork, and it's probably where we are at on these Cairns players and also guys like Mango too.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. He is that awkward in between guy. If he was, let's say 40, if it was about the same price as Saar, say about 40k cheaper, and it's an easy sideways move there, I would be all over it. I think of the Cairns guys, he's either the number 1 or maybe the number 2 guy that's going to get minutes as long as he stays out of foul trouble. So he's going to have that opportunity on the floor, but you want to see how it looks with the full strength when you've got Miller, McCall, and Armstrong all playing. then he's probably not going to have the ball in hand as much. He'll probably still get his knockdown shots, but if he's not having any ball carrying responsibilities, it does probably limit his ceiling a bit. I don't mind him if you don't have a lot of option and you want to have just another Cairns number for your bench spot, but I'd want to see how it looks with the rest of the lineup first.
Yeah, I agree. And look, another guy here is Patrick Miller, and I was singing Miller's praises a few weeks ago, but I tell you what, I'm not going to this week. We've got to mention Cairns' schedule here. Like, they've got a great schedule, but this round in particular, they've got Perth in Perth. That's a tough travel from Cairns. Like, I don't even like traveling. Sydney to Cairns is too far for me. Cairns to Perth, that's a big travel. And then they've got a game against Tassie, and we know that Tassie has a bit of a slow tempo at times. They can grind things out a little bit, and it's not great for SuperCoach point scoring when you're looking at Tassie versus Cairns. So that's not a great round for Cairns. If you're looking at gun scorers, that's not good as it is. And the other thing with Patrick Miller is that he's got a break even of 46, which he can hit. You know, he can throw up a 60 point round very easily with a 2-game week. But the problem for me is that how healthy is he? You know, he's missed games now. They've got their full squad back. They've got more confidence in guys like Armstrong. They've gone deep into their bench. They don't need to play him 30 minutes. So if he plays like 22 minutes or something, it's not worth paying $325,000 for this round, and you're not even going to lose anything just waiting at the moment. So if you really like Miller, you know, miss out on this week to me. You're another 7 weeks after that of, you know, double game weeks, or what is it, the rest of the year just about, you may as well say. Like, there's just so many, you can't see the single game weeks in the horizon for Cairns. Just wait a week, Chad. Like, I don't know why we don't want to wait a week and just see how Miller looks and if he's healthy.
Yeah, I mean, if you had like a negative 15 break even or something, I'd understand people like taking the risk to jump on with him fresh off that injury. But you're right. There's this week and next week, there's some good guard options that you can go with some punts. So this week, there's obviously the Cottons and the Tassie boys. Next week, you've got people like Sobey or even just trying to think who the other team is on the double. I think it might be Adelaide, or let me just double check. No, sorry. It is Adelaide. Yeah, sorry. Yeah. Maybe even like a DJ, 3J, or one of those kind of guys as well. See how he performs, again, as we've been saying with Qual, to see how he performs with the full roster, and as he gets probably eased back into following that nasty fall he had on his back there. So I'd be leaving it. I owned him earlier in the season and a big fan of him, but yeah, until we know how he looks with the rest of the squad, I don't know if his ceiling's going to be there to pay $325K for at this point.
And I'm just going to throw Wardenberg in there, who's in the top 10 too. Break even to 47. That schedule of Perth and Tassie this week, I just wait. I just don't see any need to get him in this week. But there is the last guy I want to talk about that's in the top 10, who is my trade-in. And I'm very sold on this guy. Milton Doyle. So at the moment, I've got Doyle and Pinder coming in. And I am really, really happy with Doyle coming in. He's $314,000, which I think ticks a box as far as the price there is pretty cheap for the output that we could see from him and that we saw the first few rounds of the season. And I think that on the weekend he showed some good signs. He scored a 38 on the weekend in a single game week versus Adelaide. Against New Zealand and Cairns this week, I really, really, really like him to be a captaincy option. And he's also 12% owned, and even after trades this week, he's probably going to be around 15% owned. That's not massive for someone like him on a double game week with his ability, who was an MVP candidate the first month of the season for sure. Certainly Crawford's stolen some of the limelight, but I like that, Doyle, to benchmark him, is almost $90,000 less than Bryce Cotton. He has a really good double game week as far as his schedule goes. And he's also someone who is $90K less, but if you're looking at the point scoring, he's basically scoring the same points per game. So to me, it's his value. And it's also one where Bryce was 32%. This guy's 12%. You know, if you're chasing, it just makes more sense for me to go to Doyle. And I like that he does get those peripheral stats. I think he had 4 steals on the weekend. He gets some assists, he gets some rebounds. He's just a baller, and he fits that definition of just a baller. He gets good buckets, but he plays the game really well, and I just love watching him. As opposed to Cotton, who is going to rely on his shot dropping. So I like it, especially like I don't know if it was last week, it might have been the week before. Doyle had a pretty off shooting game, and also Crawford takes a lot of shots, and he still scored well. So I like him for those reasons. I'm definitely getting him in this week, and I think more people should probably be looking at Milton Doyle this week.
Yeah, 100% agree. When we were talking about Bryce before and saying that there was some potentially cheaper options people should be bringing in for their 1 week rentals, he's definitely the top of that list. He, like the game you brought up before, he had a poor game, definitely by his standards, but he scores well. He still had 8 assists, a couple of steals, a few rebounds. Like, he's hitting the stat sheet all over, filling the box score. He even if it's say this double this week, even if one of the games Crawford's the one or McVay or someone goes off for a big game, Doyle's still going to be involved in that too, and it almost works better. I think the better Crawford performs, the more the defense has to focus on him more, rather than everyone being able to put all strategy against stopping Doyle and trying to stop Tassie that way. I'm a big fan of it. If I can make it work, I probably would, but because I've already got Cotton and PJC this week, if it's a shame the schedule lines up how it is. If this was next week, I'd be jumping straight from Cotton to Doyle. But definitely give that trade a big tick, and you'll do well, especially as he's a captaincy option as well.
Yeah, I think you can hold him too. So my plan with him, I'm going to get him in and probably hold him, because if you have a look at the schedule, we've spoken about the double game this week with New Zealand and Cairns. He's got 2 single game weeks, and that's Adelaide, and then he's got New Zealand. And Adelaide is going to be played in Tassie. So that one, he could score in a single game week as well as a lot of other double options. The New Zealand one is fairly favourable as well in round 10. And then he's got 2 double game weeks in a row. And, Perth, Sydney in round 11. It's not a great schedule, but it's still a double game week, so who cares? And then he's got Illawarra and Phoenix, which is a pretty good double game week for Tassie as well. So you're going to want in that round 11 to 12 section Tassie players, and right now in round 8 they've got the double. So I think you can hold him for that couple of weeks there pretty easily, and especially when the Adelaide game in round 9 could be like a double week score almost anyway. So I love him as a longer term one. I'm probably just going to hold him at the moment. We need to talk about captains for this round, and we also need to talk about any other trade options that the market isn't looking at. To me, when I was so high on Milton Doyle, Chad, I went, well, he does have another backcourt partner in Crawford. And a lot of people are saying, well, Crawford might be better. He might be. So he's definitely an option that I think teams need to consider this week, obviously having the double game week as well with Milton Doyle. Crawford, to me, I couldn't afford the extra 30-odd thousand when I'm honest about it. Like that's pretty much what it came down to. And to me, Crawford probably has more downside, probably a higher ceiling when he can go out and hit like 8 threes or something in a game.
Yeah.
But he's got that downside too, a bit of like a Bryce Cotton light, doesn't he? Where he can shoot the lights out, or shoot the lights back on with a 2 for 17 performance or something. So I just like Doyle's consistency, and the fact that I think the price point really gets it. 35K or something like that, he is cheaper. So, but Crawford, he's going to be an option, and he's much less owned than these other guys.
Yeah, Crawford's still a great shout too. We can conversely say the same stuff about Doyle. If Doyle's doing really well, then it can let Crawford off the chain a little bit too. But yeah, I agree with you there. Doyle's floor is higher for me, so if you're going for one, probably have that safety net there. But maybe chasing a ceiling score for a rental, Crawford's not a bad shout. There's another option I was actually thinking of too, which I'm surprised. If you go, I think the top 1% trade-ins is there, or 10%. But overall, back-to-back 30s, I think in just games. Christian Doolittle is one that I'm surprised more people haven't been jumping on. That's definitely still a trade target if you're looking for a cheaper guy.
Yeah, I like it. And if I had a third trade last week, I would have actually got Doolittle in. And he was another one that was really popular in the trade market, in the top 5 most traded in players. And I thought it was great last week. He had a lower break even last week, but he does have the double this week. So yeah, I really like that shout out. There's probably one other guy too that I would say is sort of, if you've got a lot of double game guys in your squad, and depending on who you got at centre, I just really love JLA. Like Lual Achul, what he's been doing for United has been phenomenal, and he's 2% owned at the moment, and he's 384,000. And people thought, he's going to start going down because he started off the bench when he came back from injury, and he's just pumped it out. It doesn't matter. And on the weekend, he scored a 48. The weekend before was a 47. The weekend before was 58. And the weekend before was 46. His range is 46 to 58 points in his first 4 rounds back from injury. And there's single game weeks in there. On the weekend, he had a single game versus Phoenix at 48. It's the shot blocking ability that he's got, and the fact that he can stretch the floor a little bit with some threes too. And he can be pretty unstoppable down there, scoring-wise. It's like, it's a tough couple of weeks, but if he's throwing out 40s anyway, could get him against Sydney this week as a massive pod option. Then he's got Cairns, and against Cairns at home, he could destroy them. And then he's got Brisbane at home as well, I think. And then he's got the Phoenix and Adelaide in a double game week in round 11. So it's a few weeks that you got to wait before you get a double game week, and that's going to hold everyone off. But as a strategy, then that might actually work in some teams' favour, because if you're looking for a pod, everyone's going to hold off him. JLA will come into calculations round 11 for sure, be a big trade target for a lot of teams, but he might score double game weeks in single games for the next 3 weeks the way he's going. So I really, really like him, and I wish I had the money in trades to be able to get him in.
Yeah, as we sort of spoke about earlier, if talking of potentially holding someone like Williams, if a team was going to hold somebody that's around 400k in their centre spot, whether it's the bench or if they had, say, Woodenberg and they wanted to try and risk it on court, JLA is probably going to be the best option. His ceiling's clearly the highest of the centres. And you brought up that good point. That's in his first month coming back off a decent injury. When he builds even more form, I know they do have Huck Porty there. What do you think with Huck Porty? I know that it did coincide a little bit, the fact that he was down, slightly hurt, playing less minutes. But do you think that they can still have that, JLA can have that high ceiling with Huck Porty at, say, full strength?
Yeah, I think you can. I doubted it at the start. I worried at the start about it because I don't think you can really play them together much. But I think certainly, we didn't get to see it on the weekend because Huck Porty played 9 or 10 minutes or something. It wasn't, and he got injured the week before, so it wasn't ideal to be able to see. But the first 2 weeks put it to rest for me. Like, I think the first 2 weeks, JLA balled out the same points as what he has the last couple of weeks. So I think that he already showed that in a slightly less role with Huck Porty there, he can still deliver just as many points. So I actually think JLA is going to be the number one centre on averages per game by the end of the year pretty easily. So he's, all over him. Did you have any other ones who we didn't talk about yet that you thought might be a cheeky option for this week out of the trade market for pods?
It's a real smoky, and it depends on who you've already got in your team. So I probably wouldn't do it, as I've got Cotton and PJC, but slightly getting back into form, and his ceiling is some of the highest in the competition. It's Will McDowell-White. So they have that Hawks matchup, as we talked about, with like Lamb and PJC that can go pretty big. But McDowell-White, if he's can get back to his best coming off that hand injury, he's an option that I quite like. If I didn't have PJC already, I think just off the top of my head, he's about 290k or 280, around that.
284, yep.
284, yes.
And he had a couple of good weeks there, around 5 and 6, where he scored 47 each of those rounds. So that shows pretty good potential for the price point.
Yeah. So what's his break even? Yeah, 54 is high, but with that Hawks matchup, over the round, I'd see him getting somewhere near that. So if you're looking for a lesser owned sneaky option for a bit of a rental over the next couple of weeks, he's someone that is a definite name and definitely has shown the ceiling in the past.
Nice, I like it. Let's have a look at captaincies as well for this round. Top 3 captaincies for you.
I struggled with the third one. 2 that I've got locked in are Pinder. I think that he's getting more and more back into form, as we discussed a bit earlier. And the game against Cairns, I know that it was a nice split in terms of he got obviously a lot of money to go back to his home state, but it's still kind of that revenge game. What if he wants to come and ball out against his old side, which don't necessarily have the best bigs in the league in terms of defensively. So if he's going up against a Menenga or Wardenberg, who well, not Menenga, but he obviously went against Wardenberg in training. I'm sure he'd love to school him. So he's probably the number one guy in one of the reasons why, as we both are sort of toying with going the Williams to him. I think PJC as well, Parker Jackson Cartwright. I keep saying it, that Hawks matchup, we did mention the new coach. So for anyone that also plays Fantasy Premier League, there's that new manager bounce as someone always gets sacked during the year. The team usually comes back, or even if we look at AFL, the last 5-6 years or something, in the 19 games where a coach has been sacked, the team's won like 18 times or something ridiculous. So it could be interesting, but it also conversely could go the other way. They might be that disjointed that it could be an even higher ceiling game for them. And New Zealand, they need to win. They're underperforming. They have been hit with injuries, but they are underperforming where they should be so far this year. And I think that obviously Parker Jackson Cartwright's got to be a huge part of that. And the guy that you've already got that I'm looking to bring in would be the other option in Lamb. So we've seen, as we talked about before, his ceiling, and a team like the Hawks, who they, as a Hawks man, I obviously a big fan of a few of the players, and I love Dan Greeter, and he's going to be probably one of the guys guarding him along with Winey Swiker Bullock, and I don't think that either of them can go with the experience and explosiveness of Anthony Lamb. So he's probably going to be up there, as you said earlier, as one of the top scorers of the round. So he'd be the third option in there. What about yourself?
Yeah, I like those ones. I really do. I think that a lot of people will look at Bryce Cotton, and I do think he's an option, but I think his volatility keeps me off him, and I can see him. I can see him with a disappointing like 55, and that's going to be fine. But if you're a captain option, I think he had to ball out, absolutely kill it on the weekend to get a score in the 40s. I think that you want to look at, for me, I look at the ceiling games, like which games here give somebody the chance to absolutely get a massive score, a 45 to 55 type of range score. And to me, I think that New Zealand have got that with Illawarra, mainly because it's in New Zealand as well. And New Zealand has some guys in...
Was it...
Sorry, back there.
Oh, sorry. No, sorry. As you started talking, I think you just cut out, so I thought you took a pause there. That's all good. I was just going to...
Oh, no, that's okay. No, all good. I think that... so New Zealand playing Illawarra. Illawarra's got a lot of turnovers in them too. And the New Zealand guys in that backcourt get a lot of steals. So, Jackson Cartwright had a 4-steal game a few weeks ago. He could do that again. You got Lamb, who's got the defensive stats as well the last few weeks going on. So I think that's that ceiling game that you're looking for. So I really like Lamb, Jackson Cartwright as well, but I'm probably going to gravitate towards Lamb because I think he's going to be a lesser captain option. And then what are the other big ones as well? So, I mean, for me, the other big double one, I think Tassie has a good mix of two solid games for them. So I do like a Milton Doyle or a Crawford as far as a bit more of a pottish option because I don't think as many will be on them. But I liked all of your ones as well. So I'm probably looking at those. And I think that I'll be deciding between those ones. I'm not as big on like Pinder because to me, I've sort of been a bit bigger on Alan Williams and those types a few weeks ago, and I'm just finding that I think that they don't have that ceiling to hit me a real big one. They're probably going to be really solid. Pinder will probably go 30 to 35, and that'll be really good. But whether he does that both games, maybe it comes out with a 65, and that's going to be a really good captain score. But I want the chance, if there is a big round, to be able to hit one of those 50-point games and then have a second game of that 30 and maybe get an 80-pluser. And I haven't been able to hit one of those yet. So I'm really, really hunting for one. And I'm not going to get one doing a Pinder or an Al Williams. I just don't think they've got the ceiling to get there. So, I like those other guys just because of the ceiling. But there's a lot of options this week, isn't there? So it could open it up quite a bit in the scoring.
Which I think is good. A bit of variety. With only 4 teams on the double, there is less option than when we've got, say, 5 or 6 teams. But... yeah, there's definitely a few that people will gravitate towards. You're right. I think a lot of people are going to go towards Cotton and Pinder as they're a bit more highly owned. and guys like Lamb and Doyle can come out, absolutely ball out, and be very rewarding for owners. So I just looking at the just check the first game. So it's Tassie and New Zealand play in that first game Thursday. If there was people that were holding someone that potentially wasn't going to play, like if you had like a Trey Kell on the bench if he didn't play for Adelaide, or if you found out Clipman or someone was out for the round, could be sneaky VC options, but on the doubles, I don't know if that's the best way to go. How do you feel about, I know VC is obviously a lot more prominent in our normal just single game rounds like AFL, NRL, etc. But how do you feel about the VC loophole or attempting something like that?
I think it's just so much harder with the it's just so much harder in NBL. So I haven't really looked at it. I think that the biggest benefit is almost what was intended for the VC when it was made by the Daily Telegraph as a game for SuperCoach. In that for NBL, I think the most useful thing is that because guys get ruled out that you don't know about really late in the piece. If you got a captaincy on a Miller a couple of weeks ago, or you're away for the day or something, or you didn't know and you had a captaincy on him, the VC really helps you out with that. So I haven't really looked at it much as for the loophole stuff. I kind of think that it's actually it works well for what it was originally intended for, and it's just so much easier in the NRL and AFL to do the loophole stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
Let's get on to the community stuff. So quick community update, because the SC Hub NBL community is absolutely buzzing after round 7. We've got Oscar, coach of Giddy to play, up to overall rank of 12. That is huge, looking at the top 10. Toby's troops. Toby's in the 43. Cam is up to 68. Cam's Clowns. And Rock Harden, who has the best name out of the group. Alex is in the number 75. But, great Harden tribute. It's probably the best thing that Harden's going to do all season. And we've got 5 in the top 100, 23 in the top 1,000. Top scores of the round. Toby took it out with 252, so Toby's absolutely killing it.
Massive.
Yeah,
Massive
and got him. That's why he got up to 43. That 252 was a huge one for that round. Paul with the Biscuit Dunkers came in at 236. Justin with Promised Land 234, and Sam with Riveting Rights at 232. That's like 20% higher than what I could have hoped for last round. So well done, everyone. And we've got some really good ranks as well with the hub leagues as well. We're absolutely killing it with those too. But we've also got some great community questions. So got the Fantasy Pheonix here to answer all of them. So let's hit them up. Community questions wise, what have we got? Question 1 from 1 Inch Pinch. Gak versus Qual versus Mayan versus Matt Ying. Look, I think we spoke about 3 of these guys. I don't love any of them. Look, Mayan got the most minutes. I think he got like 22 minutes on the weekend. So Mayan was probably the one as far as opportunity goes for Cairns. But how do you feel about those 4?
I think the only reason for that was with Clintman out. Of all of those guys, it's probably Qual and Mango are the 2. If you absolutely had to go for any of them, they'd be the 2 I'd lean towards, or if you're picking one of those 2. Like I mentioned a bit earlier, Qual's probably going to get the most consistent minutes for Cairns as long as he stays out of foul trouble. And with the other guys, it's a bit of a, whoever's Adam Ford's liking the defensive presence of. But yeah, I think Latmain only really got that jump with no Clintman in the lineup.
Yeah, I'm going to go for Qual as well.
Yeah.
But I'll say I don't love any of them. Michael H, Cotton and Gak, or Miller and Mango. Jeez, that's tough. Can we just make another combination for Michael?
Yeah, looking at this one is a real tricky. I think if this was round 1, the Miller option is the way to go. But then Mango's obviously not performing well. But yeah, with Miller coming back off that injury with the other guys, we still don't know how that's going to look. So Cotton is probably the best individual for this week. But yeah, I think Gak is the worst there. So it's an interesting couple options. How do you feel about it, Barnesy?
Look, I'll probably go Cotton and Gak, because I'm not sure on Miller. But Michael, I would play around because I reckon that after you've listened to this podcast, there might be a couple of other combos that you could get going. like a Doyle instead of a Cotton and giving yourself some money to make Gak somebody better. That could be a pretty good double.
So there was the Alex MT.
Oh, yeah, got him. Yep.
Sweet. Yeah. Okay. Cool.
All right. So we also had Alex ask if you're making your dream starting 5 for the round, what does it look like, including your C?
Ooh.
Don't worry about dollars. Don't worry about any money or anything else. Just your dream starting 5 for the round. What does it look like, including the C?
Ooh.
That's a tough one. I'll let you go first. Who's your 5 for this round?
This is a great question. I really like this. I think the first two players I'm going to lock in are PJC at one of the guard spots and Lamb at one of the forward spots. As we mentioned before, they've got that Illawarra matchup for the high ceiling for the round. They're both in some pretty decent form too. If we're going at centre, I think you probably have to go Pinder with a double game week. As we've spoken about, someone else before who on the single might be able to pip him there. But yeah, I think Pinder at the 5 and then one guard and one forward. Could maybe go a little bit funky at the forward spot. If you want to play for ceiling, I know he only had, I think it was 19 last round, but a Jack McVeigh as well. He
like it.
He can do it if he can punch up towards the 40s on a really good day, and then at the other guard spot, I'll probably it's tough because there's one versus the two of them. We'll avoid the Tassie guys and I'll go with Cotton at the other guard spot. But yeah, that is tough, and that is a really good question from Alex there.
Yeah, I like it. I would have actually gone, to me, Lamb, Pinder, and Jackson Cartwright are the locks straight in.
Yeah.
I'll throw Doyle in there in the backcourt instead of Cotton. And then that other forward spot, it's a real toss-up, but I do like the McVeigh call for that one. And then we had Dr. Kando. Kane Anderson himself had a question that he wanted answered. Why don't you hit that one up? What do you want to give Kane advice? What's your advice to Kane on this one?
Mate, I am in the exact same boat, and we can jump right on still. You're 100% right. We've got that Hawks as part of the double, and as we sort of mentioned a bit earlier in the pod, the more he adjusts to the league and the team, he's only going to get better. I'm bringing him in. You can too. I know we've had pretty similar teams throughout the year. Let's keep that going, mate. Let's do it.
So Kane wants to go Lamb over Pinder, and 100% get Lamb over Pinder. I've got no doubt at all. Go for it, Kando. Get in there. Lamb over Pinder. Should have done it last week when I told you. That is the end of the podcast. The Fantasy Pheonix jumped on board this week. Mate, thanks very much for jumping on. It was a pleasure to have you and talk some basketball.
No, thank you so much for having me, Barnesy. It's been a pleasure to be on the pod. Obviously, listener, so now I can say I've been actually part of it, which is really, really cool. Hopefully, Pleb's not too unhappy with the performance while he's away.
He probably doesn't even have time to watch. Look, you can all join the SuperCoach Discord as well. You'll find a lot of guys in there, great community. And aside from that, you can find this podcast for the SuperCoach Hub NBL week to week each Wednesday. And you can jump on YouTube if you want to watch, or you can also just do Spotify if you want to listen and find it there. So make sure you subscribe to those as well. But other than that, good luck for the NBL Round 8. We will be back next week. Good luck with your captain's choices. Can't wait to see the ball this week, and can't wait for 4 teams on the double game round. It is going to be high scoring again. Looking forward to it. Good luck, everyone. We'll chat again next week.